Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome to Modernize or Die, CFML News Edition, and it is October 27th. 2021. It's a special Wednesday episode because we had a few things pop up yesterday. We just couldn't get the episode out, so we apologize, but we're glad to have everyone who joined us today. Brad, thanks for joining me. Weird day, but you're here still.
I'm wishing I'd worn a Halloween costume or something. I feel like this is a bit of a missed opportunity right now.
I know I should have worn my Harry Potter one, but I got my Hacktoberfest shirt on. This is the 2020 version, so at least I'm supporting some of that. And I got my 4th pull request in, so yay, I get a free t-shirt. So I can add to my collection.
Excellent.
Although I have way too many t-shirts. I went through my closet last night and I'm going to give away like 15 tech shirts because they don't fit or I've got way too many. But long story short, so enough shirts. So maybe I should plant a tree. I guess we'll see.
You sound like my wife. She complains about all the tech shirts that I have.
Oh, I have 30 just tech shirts.
I'm sure I've got that many.
Yeah, that's not including all the polos I have for orders too. So, anyways,
None of my order shirts fit anymore.
Well,
I think I've gotten fatter.
Okay, well I'll send you some of mine because I've got a whole ton in that bag, ready to go. So, and some of them are JFrog shirts, Brad. I got some JFrog shirts, some good ones.
I like the JFrog shirts almost as much as my daughter does, who steals them all from me.
Yeah, these ones are bigger though, so maybe they'll fit you and they won't fit her. Anyway, so thanks to our sponsor, Order Solutions. Without them, we wouldn't be here, and the podcast wouldn't be here either. They're the makers of ColdBox, CommandBox, ForgeBox, TestBox, and a lot of awesome boxes out there. So if you want to say thank you to Orders for making these things possible, like and subscribe to YouTube videos. Sign up for a free or a paid account on CFCast. And also we have an Orders book, 102 ColdBox HMVC quick tips and tricks. It's up on Gunrobe. And Brad, your 103 quick tips on CommandBox has got tip 1 right because you did your tweet the other day. So one down, 102 to go. Yep.
Yeah.
So we got 1 saved. Let's get some more out there, and we'll have another book for Brad before Christmas. That's your goal. He's like, what?
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Anyway, so our other supporters are our Patreon supporters. So we have 37, Brad. Can you believe it?
That's awesome. I never would have thought we'd have 37 Patreon supporters back when we first started doing Patreon. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they provide 93% of the funding for this podcast. We did hit that 100% for a short time, but we dropped down a little bit. But still, 93% of this podcast is funded by you individually, putting your hard-earned money on the line. And obviously, that helps Orders put its money from the podcast to other Orders community efforts. So we thank each one of you, and we'll tell you a little bit more about who they are at the end of the show.
We don't know it was hard earned. I mean, we've got some shady people out there. They may have stolen some of it, but if any of you guys robbed a bank to fund our Patreon, just don't tell us, okay?
Yep.
Ignorance will be bliss.
Yep. Okay, so news and events, Brad. First up, we have Preside version 10.16.0 is out. So it's pretty cool to see them doing so well. They're built on top of ColdBox. They do great work, but it's their own CMS, and they're really hitting some real market, niches over there. So they're really specializing in membership stuff, from what I remember. So
they've got a lot of cool stuff. I see they even have a contribution list. I recognize a couple names on here: Seb Duggan and Chris Schmitz, all contributed to this version. It's nice.
Yep. So they have a video, release notes, and documentation links that we'll share with you guys. And go check that out. And they've got some pretty cool tools. And even if you're not using Preside, we could probably use them for some of your other apps too.
Their releases get videos.
Yes, Brad.
Content Box doesn't have a video when it releases.
Luis did 3 webinars around Content Box's release. I think that counts. But yes, we should do more. Always
wow,
more.
it's a 13-minute video. Let's go through all the new features.
Yeah, pretty cool. So next up, we have an online CF meetup scheduled, the first one since June. And you want to tell us about that one, Brad, since you're the one going to be giving it?
I could if I close this Preside video that I'm staring at, muted in one of my tabs. Oh, yeah, this thing. This is tomorrow, isn't it?
I think so.
I should prepare for that. Just kidding. Yeah, so I'm doing an online Cold Fusion user group meetup thing. So many words we can throw into that for Charlie Earhart, called Using Launch Darkly for Feature Flag Management in Cold Fusion applications. So anyway, Ben Nadell has blogged and talked a lot about Launch Darkly, which is a library that helps you manage feature flags, turning features on and off, controlling how features work. And he got Mary Jo Schminkley, who works for CF Web Tools, interested in it, and so she had a client that wanted to use it. So they hired Ortus, and by they I mean Mary Jo and her client, to write an SDK, a Cold Fusion SDK for Launch Darkly. She didn't have to just use the Java SDK directly. And we have a lot of really nice tie-ins with the Java lambdas. You can just pass a closure in CFML and it translates it all. We do all the Java casting for you. So I wrote the Launch Darkly SDK, and I always kind of thought a library to manage feature flags was a little lame, like I said on Twitter, because feature flags, I figured it just like a Boolean, right? True, false, is the feature on or off. Like I can do that with the cold box setting. But while writing the SDK for Launch Darkly, I found that it does a lot more than just turning stuff on and off. I sent some more tweets this last week of stuff I'll be demoing. The Launch Darkly people were very kind enough to extend my trial and give me some extra enterprise features to be able to test against. But yeah, you can do like percentage-based rollouts of features, and it's not just on-off. You can have 5 or 6 different variations, and then you can do these like user metrics where you track conversions or you track anything you want, like number of items in the cart, how long the user is on the website, whatever you want to track. And then Launch Darkly will gather all that stuff up and it'll let you run an experiment. You have like 5 variations and it'll show you which variation performed the best, like what users that received that variation, spent more money in the cart. There's a whole bunch of really cool kind of business intelligence stuff they do with the data on top of just toggle the feature on and off. And it's not even all just Boolean. You can have feature flags that are JSON, and you have feature flags that are strings. So anyway, I wrapped up a little demonstration for the Ortus team the other day in one of our internal meetings just to show them the SDK. And then, as I've done before, I thought, this would be a quick and easy little demonstration for the online Cold Fusion user group. And it's not even really related to Coldbox because I wrote the SDK so it can work as a Coldbox module or as a completely standalone, drop it in your legacy application, works just as fine there as well. So anyway, that's basically what we're going to be doing. I think I might focus a bit more on some of the more kind of cool stuff Launch Darkly does. Because I think everybody kind of gets the idea that you push a button, the feature turns on, you push the button, the feature turns off. Like, we get it, right? That's what everybody, at least that's what I understood feature flag management to be, which is why I thought it was kind of boring. But there's a lot more that's actually pretty darn cool. And I've only probably touched half of the features they have. You can like export your data out to like AWS. What's their
big data stuff?
No, their PubSub message queue implementation.
SMS. SQS.
Yeah, and Azure, you can like send the raw data of everything your users are doing out to there. They have a lot of cool integrations. So anyway, that's basically what that is all the stuff that Launch Darkly does that I never had any clue it was that, I don't want to say complicated, but that robust of a product is pretty neat. Now,
I mean, basically, that's what some of our clients have us do. I mean, we have some clients that we do Nginx rules for all this, split launch, and they do A/B testing and everything else. And it sounds like they thought, oh, we can do that, build into this product, do the the feature flag stuff, and it's a whole marketing suite. So this is something perfect for a business manager, a marketing manager to be able to use.
Honestly, yeah. The kind of features that I found when I dug into Launch Darkly is stuff that I think your typical like business kind of guy, business analyst, whatever, would be like, ooh, I want that. Because it's one thing to turn the feature on and be like, oh crap, it's broken, turn it off. It's another thing to turn on 5 variations of feature and then track how your users respond and which version of the feature, which variation produces, the most income, revenue in your shopping cart. And that's really where Launch Darkly's feature set, in my opinion, kind of sits. I mean, obviously you can turn stuff on and off, but They have a
Yeah.
lot of really cool. So I mean, like graphs and everything. So anyway,
Yeah, I mean, obviously you'll show people how it works, but that part, like I said, is just a small piece of what it does, and you can go into more detail. As Charlie
right.
just
And
said,
I
just hope you show this, the start for those people who don't know
well,
anything. But
yeah. I mean, I won't skip it. I think I'll kind of spend a bit less time on that. And I do have a source or a demonstration repository on GitHub. It's the one I initially did internally, and I have it stuck out there, and I'll be using that. And I also have it set up now, so even if you don't have a LaunchDarkly account,
I
you don't
saw
have a
that.
trial, you're not paying, you can. I have it set up so it will use just test data, so you can still kind of get the idea of how it works. It's all based on a JSON file,
That's cool.
which makes the demo infinitely more interesting for people who don't already have a LaunchDarkly account they're paying for. So.
Yeah, but you did get a trial, right? So if somebody wants to test it, they can sign up for a trial as well.
You can, and that's literally what I did when I developed the SDK. Is I went and just signed up for a 14-day trial, and then I created my feature flags. I started writing the SDK and integrating with that. Um, but they have it. I mean, the whole thing's an as a service setup, but their pricing is like a kind of a big slider. It's like, tell us how many logins you're going to need, tell us how many features you're going to need, tell us how many experiments you're going to want to run. And you can kind of pay a la carte for a lot of that stuff. So I don't know what their enterprise pricing costs, because it's a call us kind of thing,
Yeah,
which
most
means
is.
if you have to ask, you probably can't afford it. But if you have one of their smaller accounts, which start at like $8 a month, you can add in kind of a la carte things and just pay for it as you go, which is a nice benefit to their feature plan, because a lot of people aren't going to want to fork over big bucks if they're not a big company.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's
Cool.
for LaunchDarkly to figure out, but it'll be fun, and that'll be tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Central Time, I believe. I think it's noon Eastern Time on the online Cold Fusion user group.
Yeah, so 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time for me. So yeah, 11 Central. Yep. I'll have to tune into that when I miss the internal one. So I will have to tune
Oh
in and check
man,
it
you
out.
missed the internal one. Ugh,
I
I
know
gave
you
away.
guys didn't
I gave
record
away a
it.
free car.
I
I gave
know.
away a free car to everybody that was there. I was like, "You get a car, and you get a car," and then you weren't even there for it.
Nope, I wasn't. It's too sad. And they didn't record that one. The one time the recording didn't work.
Oh well, I blame Jorge. He was in charge of it.
Yeah,
Throw him under the bus.
I will. Okay, next up we have an Adobe workshop. So there's Adobe Cold Fusion workshop. It's free registration. It's a one-day workshop, and it's in European time, so Central European time. So it's a 9 till 4:30, and then they also have this late. So I guess that's just the other time zone. Sorry. But yeah, so basically it's a full workshop, and it does go through most of the stuff very similar to what you would get if you went to the certification training. From what Charlie said, we don't know exactly, but it does help cover a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff in the agenda, and it's free. And so if you're in the European time zone or you want to make it work, a lot of cool stuff, and looks to be good for anyone just starting too. So it goes from like creating arrays and empty items in arrays, and all that stuff. So there's a lot of different pieces. So it'd be kind of cool to go do if you got a new person. So Scott, for your newbie, maybe send him to that. He can wake up early. But so that's the workshop there. So sign up for that. That is November 10th, Wednesday, November the 10th, and remember it's Central European time, and that's with Damien Bruinsduck. I don't know how you say it. I'm sorry, but we'll send the link for that in the chat, so you guys can sign up for that if you need to. And then we had a couple of things we just want to cover just in case you missed it. It's been a couple of weeks, so we wanted to let you guys know. All the Into the Box videos are online. They've been online for a couple of weeks now on CFcast, so go check that out. If you attended, either online or in person, you should be able to get access to that. You should have got an email. If you didn't get an email, let us know at cfcast.com/support. And we'll get that to you ASAP. And if you're already a paid subscriber, you get all those videos included in your subscription. So check that out. And then last week, I had a webinar. Did you actually attend that one, Brad? I called you out a few times. I saw you responding, but I wasn't sure if it was you or a robot.
No, I was there. I was working on some other stuff, but I had your webinar up in the corner. I was kind of listening to it, keeping an eye on the chat. It was good.
So yeah, so I did the building quick APIs, the extended version. So instead of about 45 minutes, I went for about an hour and 10 minutes. So a lot more content in there. I went over things like using formatting and linting as well, and of course, there's always more. So I think if you guys want to check that video out, it should be up on CFcast later this week. But we're also going to do a CFcast series, basically building on that. But instead of me highlighting everything quickly and showing you stuff, I'm actually going to record it as I build it. And we're not going to be building the same quick API. We're going to build a new one, something different, and you'll have to wait and see what that is.
Something special for CFcast subscribers, eh?
Yep, and I think it'll be pretty neat. So it'll be going like, sort of full circle, creating the database and then the quick entities and then building the API and even some of the apps. So basically this is how we build an app from the ground up, all the different pieces, showing you how to set up.
We build it.
Show you how to set up CF docs and the formatting.
Song, Gavin.
I'll have to get you to do that, Brad.
Yeah, that should totally be your theme song. But this is how we build it.
That's what we need to do for our Into the Box next year. We should do like intro videos like the wrestlers do on WWE. So choose your music, but we can have parody versions.
We'd need to redo the intros to be a bit more hype, And now, hailing from Auckland, New Zealand, Gavin Pickett, and you come out with like a flag draped over your shoulders, fist pumping in the air.
Well, like I said, we could do that. If we're going to put the music up and stuff, do some pre-production. Anyway, squirrel. So happens you get.
We'll discuss it internally, is what we're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so that video should be up on CFcast very soon. So
what's coming to a close? The people need to get their booties in gear. It's Hacktoberfest, Gavin. You got your Hacktoberfest shirt that you're rocking. All I have is an Adobe Flex shirt, so I'm handling old technologies this morning. But yeah, I mean, the end of the month is coming up. If you're going to get your free T-shirt or your plant a tree, you got to get those 4 pull requests in October.
Yeah,
Oktoberfest.
I got my 4 in. I did a couple on quick documentation. I did one on Callbox documentation. I actually did pull request to Callbox for something else. So I did my 4. But
yeah, I've seen a nice little spike in pull requests in the documentation that I manage, and even Command Box had a little handful of pull requests. So it's nice. Helps encourage people to get around to doing those pulls they've been thinking about.
Well, we should do like an Autostober or another time of the year we do like some special event too, because we got a bunch of order shirts and stuff we could give out and some swag, I think it'd be kind of cool, especially in those downtimes where there's not as much going on, No one does any work at Christmas.
So I think it was Daniel. Somebody sent me a pull request to, I think the Launch Darkly repository.
Oh, really?
And it just occurred to me, I don't know if I have that tagged with the Hacktoberfest.
Go tag it.
Tag. Let me look. Yeah, Daniel Garcia sent. Let me make sure I have the Hacktoberfest tag on there.
Yeah.
11 tags. What? No, not tags. Not like Git tags. I always kind of hate GitHub's interface in adding. Here we go. No, I don't. Oh, they think they call them topics.
Oh.
There we go. Hacktoberfest. Yeah, I didn't have the Hacktoberfest topic on there.
Well, if you put it on there, like I had one that wasn't tagged when I first made it, but then I went and got it added, and then it showed up. So it showed that there was one that was missing it, So it should show up on your list still. So
yep,
it's pretty cool.
Here we go. Any more pull requests you want to send to a Launch Darkly SDK? You got like what, 4 days to do it?
Yep, and same thing on my quick API repo that I put out for my thing last week. If you see anything that needed changing or updating or tweaking, like make a pull request. I'll try and jump on it. So
I'm even going to add the tag to my little Launch Darkly demo that I'll be using tomorrow in case somebody wants to send me a pull to that.
Yep.
Boom. Add it everywhere.
Sounds good. Okay, let's get on with the next thing here. So next thing up is CFcast. So this week we had more up and running with Quick. So we have testing with Quick and then step 11 exercise. So we're down to like the last couple of weeks of this Quick workshop. I think we have 13 exercises in total. So a few more weeks and we'll be finishing that up. So expect more of that this week, and also expect the building Quick APIs webinar that I did. So those two should be coming up this week for you. And then, like I said, we're planning our next set of topics. So I've got a big series I want to work on, so hopefully I can discuss that at our next internal meeting and figure out what exactly it's going to be. I've got 2 big ideas for it, so we'll see which one they want me to chase down. But in the box team, we had some people giving me some feedback and stuff, and Vil had a whole bunch of suggestions on things that he wants more detail on. A lot of things he's fixed or solved one way. He's like, wonder how an Audis person would solve it. So that kind of might be kind of cool. So, but yeah, quick stuff is up there, and if you go to cfcast.com, remember a lot of these videos are free, so sign up for a free account, and you can get a lot of great content there. And then if you get a paid subscription, you get access to everything. Okay, conferences and training. We have a lot of conferences coming up, Brad. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of them. So not all of them are Cold Fusion related, but these are something that you may find relevant. So first up, we have Microsoft Ignite, November 2nd through the 4th. And it says opportunity awaits with dedicated content spotlighting Microsoft business applications and Microsoft security. So that looks to be a little higher level than just .NET stuff. So it might apply to you guys. And then the next one up, we have one by DigitalOcean, right, Brad?
We do, at least according to these show notes, we do. It's Deploy by DigitalOcean, the virtual conference for global development teams, or so they say.
Yep.
I haven't actually looked at this one yet. What kind of topics do they have?
A lot of good stuff. Let me share my screen for those watching.
Agenda.
So we'll look at the agenda here. But the normal stuff. It's looking at containers and different things. Kubernetes, virtual classroom, a scalable virtual classroom. That's interesting. But they're using Big Blue Button. But yeah. But yeah, so scaling deployments of Kubernetes, more Kubernetes, blockchain. Ooh, you want to get all blockchain in. So yeah, the cloud reporting.
Cloud native business.
So DigitalOcean has a small business set up here, so they've got a lot of things. So, and then closing, and then the thing is, basically the Americas are on the 16th, and then on the 17th is I think it's replayed because it's just. Not all of it, but most of them are,
Oh, is that where I keep seeing the Americas on these titles?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was like literally the name of the keynote at first. Like the keynote was called The Americas. I'm like, well, that seems kind of exclusive to a certain part of the world. Oh, that's just when they broadcast it to the Americas.
Yeah. So I think a lot of the stuff is just rebroadcast. Not everything, but some of it. So, but that is free and available online. So deploy.digitalocean.com for that one.
They certainly get all the buzzwords covered in there.
Well, a lot of Kubernetes buzzwords for sure.
Well, yeah, I was sad. There's nothing on Docker Swarm. I searched the agenda on it.
Yep. And then next up, remember AWS reInvent last year? Wasn't that like 25 days long or something stupid? It was super long. And so this year it's back to its normal 3 days in person in Las Vegas. If you want to,
in person?
Yes, they're in person for like $17.99, which is cheaper than
another tech conference that's not into the box. That's in person.
Yep.
Holy cow! But $17.99.
Yeah,
and that's not $17.99. That's $1,799.
I actually think it's usually closer to 5,000. They usually have like 6,000 to 10,000 people. It's not cheap.
They like themselves some conference. I guess we're spoiled by Adobe, who heavily subsidizes the cost of their Las Vegas conference.
But they also have like 5,000 to 10,000 people that reInvent it. It's ridiculous. It's huge. But if you want to attend virtually, it's free this year. That's just kind of nice because it's an awesome conference with a lot of deep topics. So AWS Summit is kind of like intros to like what is this and what is S3 and what is SQS. But reInvent, they dive a lot deeper, so you get a lot of real detailed information there. So it's pretty good.
I like that. The kind of like what is stuff, and then I already know this and I use it, but I want to learn more stuff.
Yep, and that one is basically that.
Yeah, that's always like a really difficult thing, even within the box, right? Is like, do we do a bunch of starter things on what is Coldbox, what is Logbox? Because some people want that. Or do we do, diving deep into Coldbox and Logbox, which some people really want that. It's difficult to get the gamut.
Yep. So, it's pretty cool. Like, I know Brian Class, obviously he's there every year because he's the AWS guru for Confucian, and so he's always there. And I've talked to him quite a lot about it. He says it's amazing, but yeah, I don't know if how many are going to join. But if you can't make it, they do have that option. So,
Well, now that there's people having big conferences back in Vegas, I want to know what Adobe's excuse is for not being in person. Come on, Adobe! Actually, honestly, everybody's probably booked out for 20 years.
well, that's actually what someone did ask that they were trying to book for later in the
Yeah.
year, and they're like, "There's no way in how you're going to get a booking this year."
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, because usually they already have those things booked.
Yeah, a year in advance.
Yeah, at least a year, if not more in advance. So,
Yep.
well, hopefully for next year.
Yep. We have Postgres Build as well. So we have the online free conference. That's the 30th through the 1st of December. And I'm actually excited about this because I'm starting to use Postgres more. And I know Scott Steinbeck loves his Postgres. He did a session on it. But yeah, Postgres Build.
I saw Scott's Into the Box session on Postgres.
Yep.
So what is with the word build? What's the meaning of the word build? Are we building Postgres? Are we building things with Postgres?
I think it's you're building stuff with Postgres. Let's look at the site for those watching.
Postgres for builders, creators, and innovators.
Yeah, we invite the Postgres community members and enterprise to join us at Postgres Build, the annual conference for Postgres users in Europe. So it's in Europe, but we can watch it here, obviously. But yeah, so two days of sessions, including Postgres use cases, cloud, Kubernetes, tools, features, enterprise, and all that stuff. And you can actually watch the last
Again
year's.
with the Kubernetes.
You can watch 2020's talks right here. So there's some on demand. So if you want to check out last year's, you can check out all those. And I'm actually wanting to do that. So
got the agenda here. There's all kinds of stuff. Slow things down to make them go faster. That's one of their topics. Deploying battle-hardened Postgres configurations and architecture at scale. That sounds good.
Interesting.
Fix your strings. I'm really curious what that one's about.
Yeah, probably case insensitive stuff.
You've got lesser-known features of Postgres. That sounds like a hidden gems talk. They stole that from Charlie.
Yep. Okay.
Nice.
Well, we also have a big announcement. Into the Box Latam is going forward. So for those who can read Spanish, you can see it's December 2nd and 3rd this year, 2021. It's going to be virtual and free, so you can register now. And a lot of the content will be obviously in Spanish, but there will probably be some English stuff too, maybe with some subtitles for those Spanish speakers. So it's going to be online, virtual, free. Definitely want to check that out. So, Brad, are you going to polish up your Spanish a little bit, your Spanglish, and try and make it work?
If they need me to. So just to confirm, Into the Box Latam is not in person this year.
No, it's not.
Interesting. I thought they were aiming for that to be in person.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think the Delta made El Salvador a little more hard to get in and out of. Yeah.
Delta Airlines.
Yep, exactly. The Delta variant put the numbers up a little bit, so travel's a little more tricky. So, trying to be safe.
All right.
So, but yeah, so it's going to be virtual December 2nd and 3rd. You can go to latam.intothebox.org for more information, and we'll be posting all the speakers soon. More conferences. So Adobe CF Summit 2021, which is online and virtual and free. We also have some more information about that. Mark Takata finally let out the keynote speaker. So he's been teasing us for a while, and on Twitter the other day he said he's going to finally announced it, and it's going to be Ashley McNamara. I've forgotten how to say it already. Let me show you the tweet so you can read it for yourself. Or Brad, you want to try?
What you said was what I was going to say. Ashley McNamara.
Yeah. So if you guys want to go to CF Summit is it vortex.com? I always forget. Yeah. vconfix.com. You can check that out. And so you can sign up for that. It's free, and all the speakers are on the site. All the sessions are listed now, so we're ready for a big conference coming up December 7th and 8th.
Oh, it's funny. That's not even her name. Her Twitter profile says Ashley Willis. Maybe it's a married name. She says she's the director of DevRel, which is developer relations at Microsoft Azure.
Yep. But
Nice.
she's a Golang expert. She's a Google Dev expert. So yeah. So if you go to ashley.dev, I think you have her website and you can find out more about her. But apparently a lot of people know who she is and everything. But she's a globally recognized speaker. So yeah, she's dedicated to her creative work with open source communities. So pretty cool. So she's going to be the keynote speaker. So it's not going to be some Adobe corporate person, something different. I like it when they bring in different people to keynote. It kind of gives a different perspective and, some interesting
Um,
things.
Adobe, well, so in years past, like day one, Adobe would do their own keynote and they would have someone like, Trita would talk about the future of Cold Fusion. And then day two keynote would usually be like, just a person, like a speaker that would, talk more generically about stuff. So I'm curious, are they still having like an Adobe keynote and she's just like day two, or
I don't know. Not sure.
I
But
haven't looked that closely at the schedule to see.
yeah, not sure.
Either way, it should be very good. So
Yeah, it's cool. Like I say, I mean, I like to get different feedback and sometimes you can really get a good session. I think Mura had a really good MuraCon a few years back. I went in 2018 and they had a
who did
pretty
they
good
have?
speaker. Well, they had the Docker guru from basically everyone has learned everything from those Docker mastery courses with Brett Fisher, and he was there. And they also had another guy who was a
Mm.
communications person. They did it like a keynote thing as well. So it was just kind of different. They were outside the realm of normal stuff, but it was kind of cool. Yeah. But next up we have JConf. So a community Java conference is coming virtually. They were going to be in Chicago, but they've changed it online as well because of Delta. But yeah, Deep Dish Java is what they're calling it.
Deep dish Java. You know what? My wife is a huge fan of deep dish, like Chicago style pizza.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's
I
a lot
like
of
that.
sessions, a lot of tracks, so a lot of good content in here. So if you're looking for some extra Java stuff, check it out. And again, that one is going to be December 9th.
Oh, they've got George Adams from the Eclipse Adoptium, which is formerly known as Adopt Open JDK.
Very cool.
I'll say, like, I recognized his picture as I was scrolling, and it's because he's on the Slack team that I'm in. So I mean, it makes sense. See if I recognize anybody else here.
Oh wow. I just actually have some bad news here for those
What?
who may not have heard. Trita passed away a year ago.
Yeah, Twitter Bro Chattery did pass away.
Yeah, I didn't know that news. So yeah, he was the
Yeah, it
senior
was
director of
after
products.
it was after he had stepped down from his position at Adobe, if I recall.
Okay.
I saw it on Facebook because I have a few of the engineering team as friends on Facebook, and they posted about it. And yeah, that is very sad.
Yeah, I didn't know he'd passed away. I'm sorry to hear that. So I wasn't knocking his
So
keynotes.
Simon Ritter is another name I recognize. That's going to be a JComp.
So
Funny is he's also affiliated with the Adopt Open JDK, but it doesn't mention it here in his profile.
now, if you want more
Gosh,
conferences, there's a bazillion of them up on text.conf, and I found a couple of these ones that we talked about today on here. But as you can see, just in October, just the last few days of October, there's like 20, and then November has a lot of conferences. It's probably like 50 or 60 conferences in November alone. So if you're looking for something, there's something there for you. And then in December, there's even more. So we'll get to those in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, a lot of good conferences there if you're wanting to fill the gaps in there, especially if you got some vacation days and you're like us and you can't do anything but work. You can watch some of those too.
take vacation just so you can listen to conferences.
Hey, that works.
All right, let's talk about these blogs, tweets, and videos. What we got?
Yep. Well, we got a Benedale special this week, so
Mm,
he's been busy. Well, it's been 2 weeks since we had our last episode actually, so give him even more time. But as usual, Ben delivers quality content. So first up, this is just something that he said that he picked up a few years ago, and some people don't realize this, but you can read environment variables from the server scope in Lucy. And you can do this in Cold Fusion too, right? It's just a different key.
No, it's compatible. I recall. I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So Adobe Cold Fusion added this in 2021, and
Okay.
Lucy added it in like 5.2 or something, 5.1. It actually doesn't appear that he mentions it, but unless I just haven't read the whole thing. You can read two things. You can read Java system properties as well as the environment variables from the process that's running in Java. And so it's like server.system.properties and server.system.environment, which is just a handy workaround for you used to have to create the Java Link system class and call a static method on there to get them. We have a similar version of his little UDF that we've done in our client code. I think I may have written it. I'm not sure. But ours is a little bit different than what Ben showed. It'll usually look this, you give it a name and say load this, this setting, and it'll look in the properties first to see if it exists there. If it doesn't, it'll fault back to the environment, see if it exists there. Then it'll fault back to the default value. And it looks like he only has his version looking in the environment, but sometimes people kind of mix and match whether
Mm-hmm.
they supply things as system properties, which as the JVM args, those dash uppercase D, those show up as system properties.
Ah,
Um,
that's right.
and an interesting note: when you use Command Box as your server, they'll actually, and you have the .env module installed, they'll actually be in both places because the .env module adds them all as system properties in the JVM args and loads them as Command Box level environment variables, which inherently become part of the environment of the server. So they'll actually show up in both places for Command Box.
Cool,
But
cool.
yeah, this is one of those things I probably also assumed everybody knew, but I'm sure there's probably people that weren't aware.
Yeah.
Super handy in any kind of cloud environment.
Especially if you want to
Um,
just dump out all your variables to see what's there instead of having to, guess them without having to worry about messing with Java, like you said.
yeah, it's much easier just to CF dump the scope for sure. Charlie mentioned something in the chat that server.system.environment is in 2018 as well as 2021. Oh, excellent. I had lost track a little bit of when they added that. That's good to know that that's been there for a couple versions because it is very handy.
Yeah.
In Coldbox, we kind of have a wrapper function around that. So if you're in the Coldbox config file, we have one called like get system setting or something like that, which kind of mimics what I called it in command box. And it basically does this, but we have to use the Java Link system to be compatible with, the older versions of Adobe Cold Fusion. At some point, I suppose in the future, we'll be able to actually consolidate around the server scope, but
Yeah. Cool, cool. Well, next up we have another one by Ben, and this one is about making SQL queries more flexible with like in MySQL 573.
I saw
Now,
him tweet this and I didn't read it.
this was interesting because I didn't even realize that you can use an underscore match in the like command. So I've always used percentage sign, which is like one or more characters. So you usually use that around something when you're trying to do like a fuzzy search. But he talked about using a single character underscore. I didn't know you could
Yeah,
do that.
yeah, I'm pretty certain SQL Server does that. I rarely use it because I rarely ever have that specific of a use case,
Yeah.
but it's a thing.
Yeah, and so basically he was, talking about trying to make his own little fuzzy search in this one here. So, you know, and so he's actually using patterns. You'll see like test command and then design, and then, like these are the things. But he has all these interesting looking things. And I was like, make keywords likable. And so if we go look at that, you'll see his little function here, which, basically does ARI replaces on stuff. So I was like, it's kind of interesting. So
It looks like he's basically just kind of cleaning up what the user is searching on to try to make it a little bit more likely to actually match something.
yeah, I thought it was kind of neat. And so basically this is what it comes out like. And so you'll see that he's putting percentages instead of spaces, kind of make it more of a, almost multi-line fuzzy. Yeah, I like the
Yeah,
idea of taking them apart too and having multiple, like separating them out into multiple tokens, and searching that way. That's kind of cool. I like that.
yeah. I mean, the tokens still have to be in the right order, but
Yeah,
and does make it a little bit, quite a bit more flexible. I mean, I think everybody sort of knows at some point you have to go to Elasticsearch or some sort of external engine, but I think a lot of people, aren't there and don't want to deal with it, and they just want to be able to use likes. So
well, full text
this
searches are pretty amazing in some engines. Like the Postgres one is really cool. I love that one. Like,
I
a lot
mean,
of them have full text searches with, score
SQL
ratings and
Server,
stuff.
yeah, SQL Server has a full text search. It's a bit of a pain, in my opinion, just dealing from like a database backup, like a DBA perspective, because it's
Mm,
not all just contained within the MDB file. It's always like extra stuff you have to do.
yeah,
But it's not really portable. If you're writing anything that you don't know what database engine is going to be ran on, like is kind of like your lowest common denominator. And that's just built into SQL. So
yeah. No,
there's a reason why a lot of people kind of just depend on it.
for sure.
I like his function. His function is called make keywords likable.
Yeah, for sure. So next one up from Ben. Told you there's a few from Ben today. So this one was creating a group-based incrementing value in MySQL. And so he said after this, he was told to change, look at the last insert ID, which we'll look at in the next one. But basically, he's trying to leverage a serializable transaction in SQL, and he found some hidden gotchas and everything else. But basically, he wanted to, do something that works similar to the Jira thing. And so, yeah, basically wanted to do the auto increment, piece. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. Like, just reading through, looking at dirty reads and colliding values, and I mean, it's a lot more low level than I usually mess with a lot of the stuff. And so he dives into the schema, and then right after that he has another one. So I think the next one was called, um, yeah, using the last insert ID to do the same thing. So I think, long story
I'm
short,
still
we read the second one because he basically that function helped solve some of the things he was trying to solve. Yeah, but
yeah, I'm still scrolling through his massively long original posts trying to figure out what he's doing. I
yeah,
think he was basically trying to use database transactions to allow basically one thread to assign the new ID and retrieve it before another thread could retrieve it. But yeah, I
yeah.
mean that's what the last ID functionality is for. So I don't know why you would ever want to try to build this nonsense by yourself.
Well, yeah.
Uh,
The thing is, it's like if you insert two really quickly in your last insert ID, if you're not returning it in the query that you're creating it in, you could actually get the wrong
Well, no, no,
one.
no, 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 no. Last insert ID is scoped to the session, right? So
Oh,
if there's two connections to your database server, that's two sessions from the database's perspective. Each of them
oh,
do an insert. Each of them say select last insert ID. They get the one from their session. So you'll never have to worry about crosstalk there, which is why that is the solution in this case. If you want to
yeah.
know what it was you just inserted, you always use last insert ID. And that's what Cold Fusion uses behind the scenes when you can get back the ID that was inserted. I forget the name of the key.
The
You can get
generated
it
key.
back. Yeah, generated key. That's literally all it's doing. Is when you want to get the generated key, Cold Fusion just slaps select last insert onto your SQL for you, gets it back from the JDBC layer, and then sticks it onto your CF query results.
Okay. See, I thought since Cold Fusion has a shared pool but had shared sessions, you could still clash if you had
No,
multiple
no, no, no,
people.
no, no. Yeah, because I mean the session, the connection to the database is open. You run the query, you get the last key, and then if you don't close it, you return it to the pool. But it all happens within the context of one session. That's all per session. So
Okay,
you
cool.
you I think you definitely do not want to try to be serialized or synchronizing that outside of the database. That's going to be wrought with peril.
Yeah, so I think that's the long story short of this. But I didn't know that you could actually pass an expression into the last insert ID.
Yeah, that is new to me as well. What does the expression do?
Yeah, that's what I was really curious about with this one. And so,
Is this what he's doing with the group based? Is
yeah,
that what he
I
means
guess you
by
guys have
that?
to go read it because it was, yeah, I read it, but
Yeah, I
I mean,
missed this blog post. Somehow I didn't see this. He must not have tagged it with Cold Fusion when he tweeted it.
I think it was tagged in CFML, but not Cold Fusion. There's a difference.
Uh,
Yeah, so this one here, he's actually passing in the max ticket ID plus one for an update statement. Yeah, I have to do some more research. So he's dug into something pretty deep here. I'm gonna have to check into it more. So, but again, like I said, it's really interesting stuff. You know, but another thing from Zach Spitzer. So we got someone different. He basically wanted to make an easier guide to get people up and running with Lucy extensions so they could build and test them. So I guess you have to use Lucy Script Runner and Apache Ant. He says it's complicated, but this toolchain, he has all the documentation here to make it easier for you. So if you want to do that, he says it's dead simple. So definitely want to check that out if you're looking at building Lucy extensions. Okay, we already talked about Mark Takata's tweet about the Adobe ColdFusion CF Summit keynote speaker. So Ashley will be doing that session. And we have a cool tweet from Ben Adele, but it's just a tweet, so we can read this one in person.
You have to read it in Ben Adele's voice, though.
Okay, you do it then.
I don't know how he talks. I've only met him a couple times.
Yeah, but listen to his podcast. He gets to talk a lot on that. But it's 10:50 a.m. He says, I work on a monolithic Lucy CFML code base, and I just started my 3rd deployment of the day. It's amazing how much work you can get done when you stop worrying about what other people think about your technology choices. That's right. ColdFusion can still
emoji.
Keep up. Yep, that's right. So I just thought that was a cool one I wanted to share. Just because you're using a legacy monolith ColdFusion, people might give you crap, but you can still get some work done and get stuff deployed. And 3 deployments before 11 o'clock is pretty good. So, and then we had a blog from Nolan Irk about him speaking at CF Summit. So if you want to find out more about that, he's happy to be there presenting again, and he wishes he could see your smiling faces in person, but I guess it'll have to be just virtual. But yeah, so if you want to read more about that and what he's talking about, he has his blog we can share. And then another tweet. This is your tweet of the day. I guess this is tip 1 for your book, Brad. You want to read this beauty out to us?
I tweeted this 3 weeks ago.
It was still in the 2-week window.
Oh, okay. No, there's just something I ran locally in Command Box for a client project I was working on, and it seemed useful. It's just a little one-liner command in Command Box. It might look like something you'd run in Bash, but this is something Command Box will run even on Windows. And it's a little one-liner that will get a unique list of all the data sources you're using in your ColdFusion code base. So it cats out all the CFM or CFC files recursively, greps out all the lines that have data source equals, use the sed, which is the stream editor, to strip out the name of the data source, and then pulls a unique list of them. And I used it for a legacy application that I was helping a client convert from Adobe ColdFusion 9 to Lucy, and I wanted to get a quick look of all the data sources I needed to make sure I set up with cfconfig, and so I just typed that out and thought that could be handy to stick out there.
Yep, that should be one of your tips in the book. So start your Google Doc list, start putting it in there.
I know.
So we have a blog post from Charlie Earhart. This was just last week, but the return of AWS Lambda support in ColdFusion 2021 Update 2. Well, kinda. I like that title, Charlie. So he said some folks may have heard or noticed Update 2 returned CF AWS Lambda support. He's delighted to hear the news.
When he says returned, did it go away?
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
Update 1 broke it.
Oh, I don't even follow it enough, nor do I know anybody using it, so I hadn't even realized that.
So he said the return feature was when he figured out what it was about, his excitement dimmed. I guess it was removed shortly after their initial release. Anyway, was basically here, Update 2 only allows you to call AWS Lambda functions from CFML. It doesn't actually create them.
That's not the same at all.
Yeah. So anyway, if you want to find out more about it, what they're doing, how to use it, etc., he does have a lot of links and details there as usual. Thank you, Charlie, for that. But yeah, I was thinking it was back completely too, but that's pretty much a shell of support. Oh well.
Wow. So Stephen Ariat has noticed in the chat that blog CFC is still being rocked by Charlie's blog here, which reminds me, weren't you going to help Charlie convert that over to Content Box at some point?
Yeah, we got a lot of the way through, and they were waiting for one extra feature that I was working on.
Copious free time.
Yeah, I know. I feel really bad every time I talk to Charlie. I was like, I'm sorry. I know Scott's been helping with some design changes too, but I mean, basically,
Charlie's blog is probably the most prolific blog CFC installation still out there.
Yep, it is. Yeah, me and Charlie worked with the content box stuff, but we were working on the custom data types. That was the big feature that we needed to add, and we didn't have it.
Yeah.
And because we wanted to make Charlie's stuff more searchable and everything else, so having the custom data types is what we were waiting for. And it was on the list for content box forever. And yeah, basically got to the point where we're waiting. I think it's actually there now. So, anyways, we'll.
On that. Also,
Yep.
Charlie has a little clarification that update 1 didn't break the AWS Lambda. It was actually removed. So I guess Adobe appeared to have made a conscious decision to remove it. I'm curious if they actually explain that somewhere, like why that happened.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
think Charlie said there was a blog post about it and it linked.
Interesting. Well, the only people I know of that are actually like using Cold Fusion CFML on AWS Lambda, like for anything real, is Pete Freitag. His entire not HackMyCF, the Fixinator scan stuff is all run on Lambda, but he uses Lucy and his Fuseless implementation. So I haven't actually ran into anybody that was actually using the Cold Fusion stuff.
Yeah, well, Charlie said nope, nowhere. There's no reason for it disappearing. It just disappeared. From if I'm reading the comments out of sync with the timing here, but Charlie has another blog post here about updates for Java 8 and 11 and 17 in October. So this was posted on October 20th, so last week. So
That reminds me.
so we
Check
need
and
to
see if Adopt has published that yet.
Yep, because if it is, you got to get it out there, Brad. Get on with it. So anyway, so the
not
Java
yet.
updates are being released for the quarter. So if you want to go check those out, and then you can find more information about all these updates
Yeah.
here.
So not all the open source providers have that update 13 yet for Java 11.
Yeah,
I've had some people asking me about it because HackMyCF was already telling them, "Hey, your Java's out of date," but the open source builds haven't all caught up and gotten the builds. So
yeah.
hopefully that'll be fast.
And basically, as Charlie said, for the CF audience, you can get Java updates from Adobe now. You should just not use Java 17. So that's just the warning. But again,
All right,
read
Java
all of-
17 is several kinds of broken, as I've ticketed in their ticket tracker.
yeah. So check that out if you want more information about that.
It'll actually be
Okay.
interesting to see how Adobe handles Java 17 because Oracle and several of the OpenJDK providers are now no longer making JREs as of Java 16 or 17. There's just the full giant JDK and then build your own using JLink.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense, but also kind of doesn't actually make sense in a lot of use cases. Because one of the sort of arguments going on in the Adopt OpenJDK or whatever the crap they call themselves now, Adoptium, is should they still make JREs or should they just push off the responsibility on the developers to make their own JRE based on what modules they want, which I think makes a lot less sense in like a Cold Fusion world where everything is all like dynamic and loaded via OSGI and I don't really know what modules are going to be used, but
Yeah.
anyway, that's an interesting thing on the horizon of Java that eventually Cold Fusion will have to reckon with.
Yeah,
how they're
I
gonna handle
guess
that.
I guess a lot of times if you're a big server thing, then the JDK is fine. And if you're looking for a really small lockdown JRE version, you probably know what modules you want. So maybe that's for the Internet of Things type setup where it's like if you want a JRE built just the way you want it, you can. But I guess you could have
Yeah,
before.
the goal is you can make it as small as you want by omitting certain modules. But I mean, I couldn't tell you, to be honest, what modules in Java command box uses. Heck, I don't know. I always just throw the JRE on my machine and it just works, right?
Yep.
I'm not a Java developer in that sense, but anyway, it's an interesting landscape that's ever changing right now in Java.
Yep. Okay, well that wraps up our blogs, tweets, videos of the week. Thank you, Ben and Charlie, for your great content there, and a couple others as well. Let's talk about jobs. So we have, it looks like about 6 or 8 new jobs this week. So let's check that out on getcfmljobs.com. So we have a Cold Fusion developer at McLean, Virginia. We have a staff developer 2 at a remote U.S. site. We're looking for a senior software developer in Java Cold Fusion.
location.
Yeah. We also have a Cold Fusion engineer at remote, and then we have a LATAM, Cold Fusion developer LATAM at Colon, Pennsylvania. And then we're looking for a Cold Fusion developer for 4 to 6 years. Assume experience there, right? Not 4 to 6 years old. And then
What does it mean by Latam? It's in Pennsylvania. That's not Latin America.
I don't know.
Does this mean something else?
I don't know.
The
Source
word
was
Latam
Indeed.
appears nowhere in the actual posting on Indeed.com.
Hmm.
It says that's 100 Blair's Dev. Blair's Dev sounds familiar. Why does Blair's Dev ring a bell? I feel like I ran across someone recently working for Blair's Dev.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
I see so many people on Slack and the Lucy forum. I see so many company names. They all, I've, I can never remember where I've seen stuff. But yeah, Blair's Dev just rings a bell. Like I've run across someone recently from there. Can't
Interesting.
think of why though.
Okay, so there's some good jobs there. Again, if you want to post a job, it's free to post there, and check it out if you're looking for a job. ForgeBox
Forge
module of the week. This one is some.
spreadsheet.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Brad.
Oh no, I'm just reading the show notes. Spreadsheet CFML. Julian Hallowell. This has been around for a while.
But it's
And
got a
if
new
I,
name.
Yeah, this so he renamed it recently. It was CFML. Well, it was Lucy spreadsheet. And it wasn't a drop-in replacement for the CF spreadsheet tag, which is a different project. It was a library that let you do the same basic stuff with a slightly different syntax. I think it was a lot more powerful, but I think it always also worked on Adobe, which is why he changed the name from Lucy spreadsheet to CFML spreadsheet, which incidentally broke some people's builds because he renamed the slug in ForgeBox, and we didn't have any like protection to be like, wait, before you do it. So he's like, oh, okay, let's rename it. So he renamed it back and then created a second slug, I think, for backwards compatibility. But yeah, he wanted to show that it works on Adobe, it works on Lucy, and it's supposed to be. I think it's all based on the POI, isn't it?
Yeah, it's version 3
POI.
now. So basically, if you're using the Lucy spreadsheet before and you want to update to version 3, it's spreadsheet CFML now, and that's available on ForgeBox. And yeah, I mean, if you're still using the old one, it still works on Adobe. But yeah, I think without changing the name, I mean, people always like, "You're really sure it works on Adobe, or you're just saying that because?" So we always had to explain that, but it's a good
Yeah.
project. I've used it on quite a lot. I do like it, and it does use the DOI. And the cool thing is, you don't have to actually install it like as an extension in Lucy if you're using Lucy. It's just a CFC. It does run some library files, like some jar files, so you can just make a small little adjustment and get that up
Yeah.
and running. So I think the instructions are on the ForgeBox site. So I'll pull that up for those watching.
And Julian Hallowell goes by CF Simplicity, so you may recognize him from Twitter and social media by that name.
Yeah, I always have to look up his name. I always forget. But yeah, see, it does have a library OSGI jar file in the helper. But yeah, I mean, you basically just use simple script like this. Get a new spreadsheet library.spreadsheet. Query it. You can add rows and everything. It's pretty neat. I've used it quite a bit. So it's cool, and it's version 3.0 now. So nice to see. It shows one version here because this is the new name, but the old name, if you pull that up, you'll see the history. It's been around a long time, and very cool. So that is our ForgeBox module of the week. I thought I would highlight it since the new name. I know we mentioned that in passing a couple weeks back, but I wanted to highlight it because it's a really cool topic, really cool tool. Sorry. Okay, next up, this one, I'm Brad. I think you need to do this for TestBox and
What we got?
CodeBox. So VS Code hint tip and trick of the week is called Ponycode.
Ooh.
Ponycode will actually allow you to create, modify, and visualize your unit tests in seconds, boosting your coverage with AI-powered test generation. This will help you write JavaScript tests. And
What the heck does that mean?
well, let's look at the screen share and we'll find out. So the cool thing about it is that you basically have like a little tool where you can write your unit tests, and you have your inputs and your assertions, and it uses drop down lists and everything, and then it basically you can run the test right there and generate the code. It actually
So
generates
basically,
your
it appears
test.
to be a scaffolding tool. Like it'll scaffold out a bunch of like describe init blocks for you
Yep.
based on a little kind of GUI.
But the
So
AI
you-
generation stuff gets a little trickier. I'm not sure how that works, but basically it figures out some things that you may also want to do. Like it must look at the variables in your function and then give you options to be able to add them to your tests. But yeah, I mean, it generates tests for you. And I'm like, this would be really dang cool if we could add that into our VS Code test box thing.
What's interesting is because basically it's like for these 5 inputs, these are the 5 outputs. That's a good question is, should those all be separate specs, or should you have one spec that just binds to data and tests against each of them? More of an existential question.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm curious about the AI as well. The little animated GIFs of documentation don't
Yeah. But it works
quite
for
make that
JavaScript. For
clear.
JS, it creates JS framework tests right now. So we could start using this, for our stuff now. But I'm just like, that would be pretty dang cool if we had something like this, in our VS Code extension for helping write test box tests.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. So the AI is the little UI. I'm watching the animated GIF here. The UI gives you suggestions of
Yep.
additional inputs and outputs that are probably edge cases that you wouldn't think of.
Yep.
And then you can click and say, yeah, I'll take this one, this one, this one, and it adds it to the scaffolding.
Yep. Exactly.
That is interesting. So I see they support TypeScript, JavaScript, and Python.
Yeah.
I'm
so
curious what it takes to add another language.
That's what
But
I'm
I'm
thinking.
sure.
Because if we're doing JavaScript style, CF script tests, it's not that
Well,
different.
right. When Luis created TestBox, he copied a lot from the BDD style of the Jasmine JavaScript framework. So I think it would be a very, very short distance to go from, the JavaScript example to a TestBox example.
That's why I told you got another job. Or I guess we
I,
could.
I'm, I have too many jobs. I don't want any more jobs.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be you, but I thought that was pretty cool, and that would be a pretty cool thing to show off once we get it working. So, yeah. But Ponycode. So if you're using JavaScript right now, you can have it help you write some JS tests, and then hopefully in the future you can write some test box tests too. I think that's pretty cool. Hope you guys like that one, and yeah, go check it out. I'm gonna be, that's for sure. So last but not least, we want to thank all of our awesome Patreon supporters. Right, Brad?
Absolutely.
Yep. Even if they rob banks to do it, we still appreciate them.
Just don't let us know.
Yep.
All right. Want to read the names?
Well, let's just do a quick reminder of what you get as a
Oh,
as a
absolutely.
as a Patreon supporter. So we do have annual memberships now. So if you pay for the year, you can save 10%. So it's the end of the year coming up. You got a budget you want to blow it on us. Save 10%. And then if you're any supporter, any Patreon supporter, you get your own private forum access on the community website. You'll also get a special profile badge for the community website too. So that's really cool. Ortus Community's live and kicking. So be a member, get a special badge. And then if you got a bronze package or up, you get a ForgeBox Pro account and a CFcast subscription as a perk for your Patreon subscription. So that means all the Into the Box videos from this year, last year, and everything else. It'd be pretty dang cool. So we have a lot of people supporting us, and yeah, your turn to read the names, Brad, or is it mine?
Go ahead. I think I did it last time.
Okay, so let's thank all our awesome patron supporters. So thank you, John Wilson from Synaptrix, Eric Hoffman, Gary Knight, Mario Rodriguez, Giancarlo Gomez, David Ballinger, Jonathan Perrett, Jeffrey McGee from Sunstar Media, Dean Maunder, Joseph Lamory, Don Bellamy, Jan Yannick, Laxma Tirohadi, Carl von Stetten, Dan Card, Jeremy Adams, Jordan Clark, Matthew Clemente, Daniel Garcia, Scott Steinbeck with Agri Tracking Systems, Ben Nadal, Mingo Hagen, Brett DeLine, Kai Koenig, Charlie Earhart, Jonas Erickson, Jason Diger, Jeff McLean, Sean Oden, Matthew Darby, Ross Phillips, Edgardo Cabezas, Patrick Flynn, Stephanie Manji, Kevin Wright, and Stephen Klotz. So thank you, everybody, and thanks to Dan Card, who just upped his membership. So I think he went up a couple of levels in his membership. So thank you, Dan, for pitching even more of your hard-earned money to help us. So thank you for that. And if you guys want to see their pretty faces, if you go to ordersolutions.com/about-us/sponsors, you will see all their pretty faces and their names on there. So thank you, everybody, because without you, Orders wouldn't be able to do a lot of the projects they're doing, like this podcast and Command Box and Forge Box and College Box and Content Box and Test Box and every other, and Box.
All the
So,
boxing.
Exactly. So we appreciate it. We appreciate your time and energy and your hard-earned money supporting us. So don't forget, Hacktober, you got a few more days to get your Hacktoberfest pull requests in. Make sure you do that. And David had a good suggestion. If you want to use Pennycode to write tests for your code, you can use GitHub Copilot to write your code itself, and then you don't have to do any work yourself. So AI for the win, right?
I can't wait until computers and robots just write all my code for me. I was promised. Elon Musk told me this would happen, so let me know when they're here.
Yeah.
I for one welcome our new robot overlords to write my code.
Yeah. Did you watch that movie on Netflix where the robots take over from the cell phone company? It was a really good movie. I loved it. I watched it with my kids. Oh, I can't remember the name of it.
Talking about the Will Smith one, I
No,
Robot or whatever.
no. There's a more recent one.
The Mitchells.
The Mitchells, yeah.
Yeah, that was a really funny movie. I enjoyed that.
The
I watched it
Mitchells
with
versus the
family.
Machines. You guys gotta
Yes.
watch it. It was really cute. It was so
The
funny.
Mitchells versus the Machines. Yeah, that,
Ah,
that, that was that was funny stuff.
yeah, I love that. So that's what I think about when everyone talks about AI. So go check it out because
Except for the robots were kind of dumb, but comedy.
yeah, for sure. So
And yes, Stephen Arrett in the chat, I do remember Brian Rinaldi's Illudium P38 code generator. I used to use that
yeah,
way back in the day.
for sure.
Where was the boom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Too funny. Yep. Cool guys.
All
Well,
right,
thanks everybody
we're
for
done
joining
here.
us on this special Wednesday. Sorry, we'll be back to our normal time next week on Tuesday. So you guys have a great week and yeah, we'll see you all soon, buddy.
I.
Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.